So getting into Unit 4, we have what's called composite functions. So a composite function is kind of putting a function into a function. So this gets kind of interesting. So given the function f of x equals 9x, which is linear, and g of x, which is 7x squared plus 4, which is a quadratic, find the following expressions. So we want to find, first off, f of g of 4. So, kind of the way this is read as when I see this notation of a composite function, you have that little circle. So this f of g kind of is read as f of g is kind of how I read it. So f of g, and then if we have f of g, and then we have this in parentheses x, this is kind of read as f of g of x. It's kind of how I read that. So if I want to evaluate f of g of 4, basically what this means is f of g of 4. So f of g of 4 can be written as f of g of 4. So notice that we actually have to evaluate g of 4 first. So, and look at this, if we kind of look at it as what a function does. Remember, you have this input-output concept. So the first function is the g function. So notice how you have this 7, and the 4 has got to go in place of x. So notice how the 4 is going to drop into this problem, and the 4 is going to go in place of x. We're going to perform the calculations, and then we're going to have a result. So this is our g function. So we have 7 times 4 squared, and then we're going to add 4 to that. So that would give us then 116 would come out. So then what happens is this turns into f of 116. So since g of 4 is equal to 116, the 116 is now going to go in place of x in the f function. So again, we're going to have this other function over here. So this function is actually going to be the f function. And in the f function, it just says 9 times whatever x is. So again, the 116 actually will drop in here. So we will perform the calculation, which is just multiplied by 9, and out comes then the result. So all we really got to do is do 9 times 116. That gives us then 1,044. So that result turns into then 1,044. So that's kind of how it kind of works, is you do the g function, and then that answer goes into, again, notice how that's a range value, that y value becomes an input value in the second function. So my next function is I have g of f of 2. So the way this writes is g of f of 2. So again, the way this works is you have to actually evaluate f of 2 first. So to evaluate f of 2, let's see if I can find some room here. So if I look at this from a perspective of the drawing, so the f function's first, so we're going to be multiplying by 9, and what's going into that function is a 2. So the 2 is going in, the 2 is going to be multiplied by 9. 9 times 2 would be then this 18. So it's going to be the f function. So this then turns into g of 18. So then we have the second calculation we have to do, which is with the g function this time. So the g function, we're going to have 7 times something squared plus 4. So in the g function, the 18 is going in for the input value this time. So we're going to be going 7 times 18 squared. And then we're going to add 4 to that. And that's going to give us 2,272. So 2,272 becomes the result. So the answer here becomes then 2,272. So the next function we have is f of 1. So this kind of is written as f of 1. So we have to evaluate f of 1 first. So again, the f function is the linear one, 9 times x. So we have our f function this time, which means you're going to multiply 9 times whatever goes in. So the input value is a 1. So 1 is going to go in. 9 times 1 is going to kick out a 9. So f of 1 becomes a 9. So then I have to evaluate f of 9. So what happens is we have to do this again with the same function. So we still got this f function. So we're still going to be multiplying by a 9. But this time, what goes in is actually the 9. So this actually goes over here and goes into this function. So it just goes back into the same function. So the 9 goes in, 9 times 9 becomes then this 81. So the result there would be 81. So if I want to evaluate g of 0, so g of 0. So notice how we're going to be substituting 0 into the g function. So if you don't want to draw that all out, you're picking up on that we're going to be substituting this function to start with. So g of 0 is going to be 7 times 0 squared plus 4. So 7 times 0 plus 4 would just be 4. So this turns into, since g of 0 turns out to be a 4, we then evaluate g of 4. So to evaluate g of 4, we have 7 times then 4 goes in plus 4. Looks like we've already done that over here. That's like 116. 7 times then 4 squared plus 4 should give me the same answer, 116. So that would be 116. So that's kind of what we got going on here in evaluating composite functions. Okay.